Well, Hamas has admitted it has lost contact with two Israeli hostages during IDF operations in Gaza. The terror group is demanding a halt to airstrikes so it can search for them. For more on this, I'm now joined by Executive Council of Australian Jewry co-CEO Alex Rivchin. Alex, nice to catch up. Look,
thank you.
What do you make of this? Is it outrageous that Hamas, a terrorist organisation, kidnaps innocent Israelis and turns around and says, oh, we've actually lost them?
You know, it's extraordinary, Danica. Whenever they want to execute hostages in cold blood, as they did with the Bibas family, they can locate them without issue. Whenever they want to parade hostages for the cameras of the international media to degrade and humiliate them further, they find them without issues. But whenever a ceasefire deal is projected to be close, they start pulling these antics. And the devastating thing, which I think we have to admit, is that for all their subterfuge and dishonesty, I think their tactics are working. They are succeeding in convincing large parts of the world that they are the good guys and Israel's the villain. Every time there's hope of a ceasefire and a hostage release, it collapses because of Hamas's refusal to accept and to sign. And then the world blames Israel, predictably. Their whole strategy of mass terror has been successful as well. They have elevated the Palestinian cause to international prominence throughout the world. They have achieved policy change and transformation, including compelling Australia to recognize Palestinian statehood. So this is the harsh truth that I think we need to grapple with. Hamas has demonstrated tragically that terrorism works because we allow it to work.
Absolutely, and they're being, basically commended on the world stage, as you said at the UN last week, so no wonder. The other issue here is, I think, Alex, are you worried that they're using this as an excuse? Because they're saying, we now call on Israel to halt the airstrikes for us to now go and find these hostages. Hamas can't be trusted. So realistically, you don't even know what the truth is here.
That's right. And this is the nature of dealing with an enemy of this level of evil. And we've seen what they will do, what they did to the people of Israel, what they're prepared to do to their own people. And so the tragedy is that they're treated as being a good faith actor. And when they make certain public statements, when they talk about being willing to accept a ceasefire and a hostage release, they're taken at their word. But we've seen over the previous months and almost years now, through these negotiations, at times they will reject the internationally brokered ceasefire that's put to them. They will then accept a whole different deal, which no one has even put to them, their own deal. They will reject the international one. And then again, it looks as though Israel has stalled on the negotiations. So this is the thing. We constantly live in this state of elevated hope, and we think that the ceasefire is going to come and hostages are going to be released and the war's going to draw to a close. But Hamas is in control. And the crazy thing is that even though they're militarily so much weaker than Israel, they hold the cards. They literally hold Israel hostage, and they're holding the international community to ransom, and we're allowing them to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, let's talk about the scenes at the United Nations. The Israeli PM, Benjamin Netanyahu, was up on stage blasting the recognition of Palestinian statehood as insane. And at the same time, over 100 diplomats walked out during his speech. Have a listen to this.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall.
Alex, we've just spoken about rewarding terror. Well, in my view, that was just a sheer example of it. What's your reaction to the delegates walking out? And more broadly, what does it say about the United Nations as a body?
Well, it's a perfect representation of what the United Nations is. It's not about international security or international order. When it comes to resolving conflict, the UN is an utter failure. It's failed to prevent historic genocides in places like Srebrenica and Rwanda. It falsely accuses democratic states of genocide in our time. They've abandoned the Ukrainian people as well, and they've failed to effectively resolve and intervene in that conflict. But here, their theatrical purposes, they present a perfect stage for leaders to stand up, to speak to their domestic constituencies, and to do the one thing that the UN does very well, which is to bash Israel. And that's what we saw there. But if anything good comes from this, hopefully it fast tracks the demise of the UN in showing people the vacuous, inane nature of this institution. But tragically, again, I think we need to be mindful of the fact that we may hold it in disdain, but the UN still holds great international prestige and moral power. And the things that are said by the UN then cascade down to human rights organizations like Oxfam and Amnesty International. They make their way to classrooms and university campuses and political parties, and they set the discourse. So the things that the UN is saying right now, that again, that Israel is the guilty party, that Israel is committing a genocide, utter lies of a scandalous nature, these will become the norm. These will become publicly accepted sentiments. And that's a great failing of the UN, but also a failing on our part in the sense that we keep funding this organization and sustaining it. And I think that needs to stop.
Well, I guess it's a catch-22 situation right now, but the scenes that walkout for a second year in a row, it must be said, I think was extremely disrespectful, and all leaders should be shown more respect than that. Alex Rivchin, it's nice to see you. Thanks very much for joining me on the show this evening.
Thank you, Danica.